Hello and welcome to the FA Women's National League Show, episode number 14, the weekly show where we look at everything that's happened in the FA Women's National League third and fourth tiers of women's football in England. We look at everything that's happened in the last 7 days and we look forward to what's coming up in the next week. My name is Chris Gadsby, here every Tuesday at 6 p.m, bringing you the very latest from the FAWNL. This week, not so much to talk about in the way of games. We had the first round of the Cup and the Plate and a couple of league fixtures snuck in there as well. But the main portion of this show is talking to Scott Chickelday, the manager of Billericay Town, who also won Manager of the Month for Division 1 in October. Hear about how he got involved in the women's game, his side's ambitions for the season and what he would like to see change in the women's game to help it move forward. All that is to come, but we'll start, as we always do, with looking at the fixtures. As I said, it is predominantly Cup and Plate of the week just gone, but a couple of league fixtures did sneak in there, so we'll talk about those first. One in the Northern Premier Division, both these sides, of course, out of the Cup and Plate, so that's why we've got this league fixture in there. Stoke City 0, Burnley 2. Goals for Burnley coming from Sarah Greenhaig and Katie Thomas. What that has done for the table is mean that Burnley, right there in the middle of the table, have jumped up one place ahead of Brighouse Town. But Brighouse Town do have a couple of games in hand. Then one in Division 4 is Division 1 South West. Swindon beating Maidenhead United by a 0-0. Victoria Taylor in just the 9th minute in that one, providing what would prove to be the only goal of the game. And the table for Division 1 South West, no movement at all towards the bottom. They're 3 up from the bottom. Swindon Town have gone from 3 points to 6 points, so they've closed that gap on Maidenhead United and Larkhall Athletic, but there have been no movements in the Division 1 South West. So those were the two league games. We'll now look at the cup competitions and we'll start at the top there. Billericay Town 2, Enfield Town 2. Billericay Town coming back from 2 goals down to then win by 3-1 in the penalty shootout. We'll hear more about that with manager Scott Chickelday later on in the show. Cambridge United 1, Loughborough Lightning 2, Chichester and Chelsea 3, Plymouth Argyle 1, Derby County 7, Burton Albion 0, Durham Cestral 1, AFC Fylde 2, Gillingham 0, Crawley Wasps 1, Hashtag United 0, AFC Bournemouth 0, Hashtag United winning that one 3-0 in the penalty shootout, and Huddersfield Town 3, Middlesbrough 2 is the first page of the cup results. So we'll start with that game with Billericay Town. Goals for them coming from for Enfield Town coming to Che Thomas in the 11th and 22nd minute. And then goals for Billericay Town, Zoe Russian and Samantha Pittock in the second half. Billericay Town then missed a penalty on the 86th minute to win the game. But then it went to extra time. There was a bit of a scuffle at the end as well. Zoe Russian and Grace Taylor sent off one for either side. But it was Billericay Town who went through in the penalty shootout. Cambridge United 1, Loughborough Lightning 2. Goal for Cambridge coming to Laura Baker. Goals for Loughborough Lightning to Lauren Taft in the 28th minute and Jessica Richardson in the 65th minute. Chichester and Chelsea 3-1 winners against Plymouth Argyle. They found themselves 1-0 up thanks to Emma Alexandra in the 55th minute. Natasha Natman equalising for Plymouth just 6 minutes later, just after the hour mark. Megan Fox, 10 minutes from time, restored Chichester's advantage. And then Sarah Saunders in added time at the end of the game sent them through into the round of 16. Convincing victory for Derby County yet again. 2 goals for Ellie Gilliatt at the end of the first half and then right at the start of the second half. 2 goals for Precious Hamilton, 18th minute, 54th minute. 2 goals for Amy Sims in the 25th minute and the 49th minute. And then 1 for Jade Formanston in the 76th minute. Rounded off what turned out to be a very, very convincing win for Derby County. Durham Cestra losing by 2-1 to FAWNL. FAWNL taking the lead inside the first minute. Bethany Donoghue scoring within the first 60 seconds. Amy Hughes then doubling the advantage 20 minutes later. Durham did get one back on the hour mark thanks to Jordan Atkinson, but could not get an equalising goal to send it to extra time. Close game between Gillingham and Crawley Wasps. Nicola Gibson with the only goal in that one. Hashtag United 0, AFC Bournemouth 0, and then it went to a penalty shootout as well. Unfortunately, the penalty shootout isn't included in all the details on the league websites. I can't tell you quite how dramatic that one ended up being. It sounds as though it was straight 3 penalties each side and some heroic goalkeeping there from the Hashtag United keeper. And then Huddersfield Town 3, Middlesbrough 2, which is somewhere else on this because it kicked off at 1 o'clock rather than 2 o'clock, so it's down at the bottom. 2 goals for Kate Mallin, 23rd and 31st minute for Huddersfield Town. Rhea Montgomery in the 70th minute providing the third. Alicia Body and Felicity Jones getting the 2 goals for Middlesbrough as Huddersfield go through into the next round, winning by 3-2. Into the second page then for the FAWNL Cup. Ipswich Town 0, Southampton 1. That was the key game that everybody was looking at. It's Southampton that come out the victors. Liverpool Feds 3, Chorley 0. MK Dons 2, Cambridge City 1. Newcastle United 1, Brighouse Town 3. That was after extra time. Norton Stockton Ancients 5, Chester Street Town 0. Oxford United 2, Bridgewater United 0. Southampton Women 5, Cardiff City 1. And another convincing result for Wolverhampton Wanderers, coming out 7-0 victors over Hull City. The 1 goal then coming to Lucia Kendall for Southampton, proving to be that only goal of the game as they come up against Ipswich Town. So that long 10-game, or even more than that, winning streak for Ipswich Town comes to an end at the hands of Southampton. Is that going to be the precedent for the league game next month? Liverpool Feds 3, Chorley 0. Goals for Liverpool all coming in the second half. Abby Pope in the 55th minute, Amy Seagraves in the 76th, and Demi Devereux in the 81st minute. MK Dons 2, Cambridge City 1. No details yet about that game for Milton Keynes Dons. Grace Stanley with the goal for Cambridge City though. Extra time needed between Newcastle United and Brighouse Town. Goals for Newcastle. So the goal for Newcastle United scored by Casey Elson. Goals, just trying to see if I can come up with anything here. So goal, Newcastle United's Rosie Misson conceding an own goal. Other goals from Leah Jade Embley and Ellie White, but I don't have any timing on that goal. So don't know which of those 3 goals was in regular time and which 2 were in extra time. Norton Stockton Ancients with a convincing victory over Chester Street Town. It started early on, Lily Patrick scoring in the 7th minute. Sophie Tierney in the 29th minute meant they went in at half-time. And then Lily Patrick got a second on the 44th minute, so they went in at half-time 3-0 up. Bianca Owens in the 61st minute made it 4, and then Sophie Tierney got her second of the game to make it 5, 10 minutes from time. Oxford United 2, Bridgewater United 0. Beth Lumsden 60th minute and Daisy McLaughlin 80th minute was enough to see Oxford United through. Southampton Women against Cardiff City, a very convincing victory for Southampton Women, helped by Cardiff City going down to 10 on the 37-minute mark, Harriet Lamb being sent off. They took the lead, did Southampton, in the 8th minute. Rachel Okoro getting that goal. 15 minutes into the game, Olivia Thompson equalised for Cardiff. But then at the end, kind of the tired legs started to show for Cardiff, after being down to 10 as well. Sean Wiley, 51st minute. Brittany Gill, 59th. Emma Jane May 85th and Kira Haslam in the 92nd minute provided a prolific second half for Southampton women as they won by 5-1. And finally, Wolverhampton Wanderers 7, Hull City 0. Goals for Wolves. Helen Dermody in the 37th minute was actually the only goal in that first half, but they then turned the screw second half. 56th minute, Beth Merrick. 58th minute, Amber Hughes. And 64th minute, Amber Hughes. So 3 goals in 8 minutes for Wolves put them 4-0 up and really sealed the game. 83rd minute, Amy Dickon. And 85th minute, Alicia Miller. And there should be another goal in there somewhere. A penalty, 72nd minute for Anna Morfitt as well. And then Wolves won by 7-0. We'll have a look then at the FA Women's National League Plate first round. Actonians 1, Cheltenham Town 2, AFC Wimbledon 3, Chesham United 2, Bideford United 8, Buckland Athletic 1, Bradford City 3, Boldmere St Michael's 3. That one needed a penalty shootout. Boldmere St Michael's coming through with the win. Doncaster Rovers Bells 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Exeter City 3, Keynsham Town 0, Hull Sports 1, Larkhall Athletic 0 after extra time, and Leafield Athletic 3, Leek Town 0 for that first page. So we'll start with Actonians against Cheltenham Town. Actonians took the lead and held it for about 20 minutes or so. 21st minute, Maria Ledsma-Viso opening the scoring for Actonians. Jade Grove, though, equalising for Cheltenham right before half-time, 44th minute. And then got the game-winning goal in the 65th minute. So 2 goals for Jade Grove saw Cheltenham through in the Plate. Then Wimbledon against Chesham United, a 3-2 victory there. No details about Chesham United, but Wimbledon goals in the 10th minute to Megan Stowe, 51st minute Rebecca Sargent, and 61st minute to Katie Stanley. Bideford United, a convincing victory against Buckland Athletic. The 1 goal for Buckland Athletic, Katie Barriball in the 57th minute. There aren't any times about the Bideford United goals, but 1 for Jodie Hunter, 1 for Jodie McGucklin, 2 for Millie Miller, and 1 for Abby Taylor, alongside a hat-trick for substitute Alicia Stanley. Then one of the more interesting games in the Plate this time around. Sadly, no information about the Bradford City scorers, but 2-2 it was at the end of normal time. Annie Highway in the 20th minute and Hayley Sutton in the 35th minute got the regular time goals for Boldmere St Michael's. Tanya Dickinson, 3 minutes into extra time, got them their 3rd goal. But then Bradford City managed to get one back and they went to penalties, which Boldmere St Michael's won. Nottingham Forest against Doncaster Rovers Bells, 37 minutes in, May Moncaster with the only goal of the game for Forest, who get themselves into the last 16. Exeter City 3, Keynsham Town 0, 2 goals up at half-time were Exeter City. It's a hat-trick for Sarah Stacey in this one, 19th, 25th and 75th minutes. Hull Sports against Larkhall Athletic. Courtney Cropper with the only goal of the game in extra time as well, but don't have any information about when in extra time that goal was. But that proved enough to get Hull Sports through into the round of 16. And then finally for this first page, Leaford Athletic 3, Leek Town 0. Goals to Chloe Shirley in the 70th minute, Grace Harris in the 77th, and Katie Johnson in the 93rd minute. So all 3 goals coming relatively late on for Leafield Athletic. Second page, then you'll notice 1 game less in the Plate. We'll get onto that in a moment. Leeds United 3, Stockport County 1. Portishead 6, Harlow Town 0, Portsmouth 2, Hounslow 0, Sporting Cowser 2, Lincoln City 1, Stevenage 1, Queen's Park Rangers 3, Wem Town 0, West Bromwich Albion 10, and Poole Town 0, London Seawood 4. So Leeds United against Stockport County then. Goals for Leeds United, Rebecca Hunt in the 16th minute Rebecca Bass in the 56th minute and Abby Brown right near the end in the 89th minute. No information yet about Stockport County. Portishead against Wem Town, a convincing 6-0 victory for Portishead, but no information about that game at all. So we'll have to move straight on to Portsmouth against Hounslow, and Portsmouth winning by 2-0, but no information about those goals either. We'll move on then to Sporting Cowser against Lincoln City. We do have information on this one. Sporting Cowser, they went 2-0 up. Rebecca Gill-Parsons in the 18th minute and Sarah Hazel in the 30th minute put them 2-0 up, and that's how they went into half-time. Lincoln got one back, Tony McHamilton in the 70th minute, but it wasn't enough, and they are knocked out of the competition. Stevenage 1, Queen's Park Rangers 3. Goal for Stevenage coming to Hannah Nevitt. Goals for Queen's Park Rangers, Laura Hennessy 8th minute, Erin Pope 30th minute, and Melanie Hall 81st minute. Then we come to the big one of the afternoon. We do West Bromwich Albion beating Wem Town by 10-0. 2 goals for Janelle Stracker and for Holly Beck Essen. 1 for Emily Owen, Hannah George and Emma Congrave, and a hat-trick for Lee Dugmore, giving West Bromwich Albion a 10-0 victory. And then finally, Poole Town against London Seaward, a 3 o'clock kickoff in this one. Goals for London Seaward coming to Cheryl Anderson, Egla Trezzi and Abby Dell. There's one more in there as well, which appears to have... it's a penalty to Kate Bradley. So one for her as well. You'll notice, as I said, 1 game less in the plate. That's because Burnley have pulled out of the cup competitions. So Alnwick Town, who did draw them, has been given a walkover into the round of 16, which, as I said, was drawn earlier on today. We'll go through those later on in the show. But first, it's time for us to talk to our guest for this week's show. I spoke last night before the draw for the Cup and Plate was announced. I spoke to Division 1 Manager of the Month for October, Scott Chickelday, the manager of Billericay Town, and I started by congratulating him on his award.
Thank you. Yeah, really, really pleased with that. But like I've said to various people, it's not about me. As happy as I am to get that, we've built a really good squad of players, staff. We've got a fantastic head of women's football, Kim Costa, and we've got a fantastic owner in Greg Lake. Everyone backs the club, and everybody backs the club, and it's a real team effort.
Yeah, I know. I'm just having a look at some of your stats. So in October, 5 games and 5 wins, 19 scored and only 6 conceded. So that is, as you said there, that's not 1 or 2 players just carrying the team through. That's everybody from the goalkeepers, the defenders, obviously stopping the shots, all the strikers on form as well. It's the entire playing squad and the off-field squad as well, and all the staff that are supporting you. So it's a real team effort.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, we've got when I first got involved in women's football, normally with men's football, the squads are not so big. And I couldn't understand why the women's squads are so big. But now I understand, because they're, for some reason, women are more prone to injuries. It's a hell of a lot of ACLs injuries go on in women's football. And obviously other things come into effect, like the menstrual cycle and stuff like that. So we did build a bit of a larger squad. And lucky enough, I've got 8 out injured at the minute, which, we're not on bare bones, but we're quite low on numbers at the minute. I can only put 15 in the squad yesterday. We were meant to have 16. So, but we have got players coming back, which is good to know. But yeah, like you said, it is a real team effort. Coach, I've brought a sports scientist in as well to sort of help us manage that with the workload. We wear GPS vests now sometimes in training, but every match we wear it to help with that as well. Louise is fantastic, who's come in with that. And yeah, it all helps. So it is a real team and squad effort, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the difference between the women's game and the men's game. You've been around the game a long time. How did you first come into the women's side of things? I know you've been with Spurs and Queen's Park Rangers. You've got your own YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I've been coaching. This is my 28th year of coaching. I started I was playing. I was very lucky to have to play for a guy called Richard Allen, who was a fantastic coach, and I fell in love with coaching through playing for him. So I've done my coaching badges early, and then Richard went to Tottenham, and then I went with him. He employed me at Tottenham, and then he left Tottenham and went to Queen's Park Rangers, and I followed him to Queen's Park Rangers as well. And then I come away from there, had a little bit of time out because my family was getting bigger. And I'll be honest with you, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, but if you'd asked me sort of 3 years ago, would I want to get involved in women's football, I probably would have said no, only because I was probably ignorant to it and didn't watch a lot of it. But then through my one-on-one work that I do, so I'm a striker coach as well, I started working with some WSL players, championship players, and it really opened my eyes up to it. It blew me away, if I'm honest with you. And then the opportunity come up at Billericay. I had a couple of meetings there, and yeah, it was a no-brainer for me. And it's probably the best decision I've made in football because I'm really enjoying it. And the club are fantastic with me. They just leave me alone and let me put my own stamp on what I'm doing. So I've got that freedom to work as well.
Now, I mean, we'll talk, about the team in a bit more detail. Let's start with the weekend. 2-0 down with inside the first 22 minutes, then able to force extra time, winning on penalties. But that doesn't tell the whole story itself, because you missed a penalty in the 86th minute, which would have sent you through without the extra time, from what I understand. But you must be pleased with how the team were able to compose themselves after going 2-0 down early on, get those two second half goals, and perhaps a special mention for Sam Pittock as well, scoring first touch back pretty much.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a funny, we played Enfield in the league and we was 2-1 down against them, and we scored two very late goals to win. So we knew it was going to be a tough game. So I changed the formation. I went very attack minded, and it was something that we've never played before. So they wasn't used to it, but I trusted them to do it. And we should have worked on it because it didn't quite work or look how I wanted it to. We found ourselves 2-0 down. So it was one of them at half time where I held my hands up, apologised, I got it wrong. So we reverted back to how we play. And then we managed to get back in the game. Fantastic for Sam. She's been away for a while. She played for us, and then she left to have a baby, her second child. And she's been training for about 4 to 5 weeks now. She's been back. She got a few minutes in the reserves last week, and then she come in first touch of the game. She scored, but she's a fantastic player. She's, she won't mind me saying, she's getting on a bit now, but she's been at some good clubs, played at high levels, and played with some fantastic players. So for our younger players, she's invaluable. The experience that she brings and the way she speaks to the younger players, advises them, it's just what we need in and around the squad.
Are you finding that now? I'm finding that in the north, and being in and around Nottingham as well a bit, in that there seems to be more players now coming down that have the experience from the top tier, whereas a few years ago that was more rare.
Yeah, well, I've looked at women's football in depth especially the last year. The WSL is getting stronger, and because of that, players are now falling out into the Championship. The Championship's getting stronger, and because of that, players are going into tier 3. And then obviously the girls that are coming sort of mid-30s and stuff, might not be able to commit now because they've got children and families and stuff. They're sort of now making an appearance in tier 4. So I think it's filtering through. But like you said, now the top level, there's a little bit of an influx of players coming from abroad now. So maybe that's hampering some of the chances for some of the younger players who now need first team football but might not get it. So they then go into the Championship. But it's good. I don't think it's where it needs to be at the minute, women's football. I think it needs a little bit more backing financially and a little bit more backing marketing-wise. But it's definitely on the up, and it's definitely moving forward.
Yeah, I know you're in at the moment. You find yourselves top of the table. Locked in a battle with #United really for that top spot. You're comfortably clear of everybody else at the moment. I know #United have got a game in hand on you at the moment. Over the next few league games, you've got top half teams. I mean, granted, it takes you through to the new year because there aren't many league games scheduled between now and Christmas, but it does seem to be it's a crucial time coming up in terms of the season as a whole.
It is. Yeah, you're right there. And we take one game at a time. I tried to get the girls not to look too far forward than who we're playing at the weekend. This weekend it's Luton in the FA Cup. So obviously that's our main focus. But look, like you just said, you can't help but keep one eye on the fixtures that are coming up. And we've got some tough games coming up. If we get through the Christmas bit, then in January we've got Hashtag and Wimbledon within a week of each other, which are going to be two big games. We've already played them both. We narrowly beat Wimbledon 2-1, which was a game could have gone anyway. And we drew 1-1 with Hashtag again, which was a game that could have gone anyway. It's tough. Like I said, the top teams in this league, it's tough. And something else I've never heard of in football, only one team goes up, which makes it even tougher. You know, it's normally you get 2 go up, sometimes 3 go up, which they do in the men's game. But in the women's game, it's only 1 goes up. So, you know, you could lose the league by a goal difference or a point and you still don't get promoted. That is tough. So it is sort of, you have to win as many games as you can because the only team that goes up are the ones that actually finish top. So it is a tough league to get out of.
Yeah, and everybody obviously at the start of the season thinks, yeah, we've got a strong squad. We could do something this year and has ambitions of going up. 10 games into the season, as you're nearing the halfway point of the season, nevertheless, did you envisage being this high up the table? Did you think you had the chance of going up this year? There's still a long way to go.
I'll be honest with you. The squad we built, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think we did have a chance. And that's not me being big-headed and saying, "Oh, I'm only doing it because we're doing well." I've built a squad together that I know is capable of doing it. And at the start of the season, look, I didn't, obviously, if you had told me that at this stage of the season we'd be 3 points clear, I would have bit your hand off for it. I knew we would be in and around it. I maybe didn't think we would have the start that we did have, but we've had some tough games, and this squad that we've got just got this never say die attitude. There's been a few games when we've been behind right until the last knock-ins or been drawing, and we've got late goals, but they just don't give up. And something that I was like as a player, and you know, from the men's background, it's always, you know, you play to the final whistle. And the mentality that these girls have got, it's a good group. And like I said, I've got a mix. We've got 2 16-year-olds that have played near enough double figures games between them. You know, another 16-year-old start on Sunday. And then you've got Sam at the other end, who's 34, 35, a couple of early 30s. And then we've got about 4 18-year-olds, 17. So it's a real mix of a squad with balance. We've got experience, we've got youth, but we've also got players that know the level, which I think is important.
Yeah. I mean, how do you keep saying you came in at the start of last season, really predominantly. So you'll have experienced kind of the winter months. Obviously, last year was a bit of because of all the pandemic and the leagues never really getting going. But you can see through the winter months where the pitches are not necessarily the greatest, where the weather's going to disrupt things really heavily. And you can go a month without a game and you can train and plan for a game and then it's called off last minute and then you plan for the next game and that's called off as well. How do you kind of keep the players focused when you're having so long between games?
It's difficult, but we're quite lucky. You can never really replicate a proper game. But we train on our pitch that we play our matches on. We train the same night as the reserves. So sometimes if that happens, we've got the capacity, the space, the venue to put an in-house game on. So we can mix it with the reserves so we can get an 11-a-side game on. Like I said, you can't replicate what you do on a Sunday in the National League or in the FA Cup or the League Cup. But it's minutes in the tank for the girls. And that's probably the best way that we can compensate that. But I agree with say it is very annoying because we do every Tuesday we recap the game before, so we sit and watch through the clips, and then as a group we plan for the game ahead. And then when you do all that planning, you train Thursday, you prepare for it, and then the game gets called off Sunday morning. It's oh god, but that's football. We're quite lucky because we've got an all-weather pitch, so our games very rarely get called off at home. But there are some teams in our league that have grass pitches, and you know, if you've had a downpour of rain for 48, 72 hours, then you've probably got no chance of the game going ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that already, even just in your league. You've played 10 matches, but Queen's Park Rangers have only played 6. So they've got 4 games in hand. I mean, in theory, if they were to win all 4 of those games, they'd shoot from 9th in the table up to 19 points and third. It is really difficult, particularly this time, and even more so once we've gone through the winter, to kind of know where teams truly lie because of the massive difference in the games they've played.
Yeah. Like I said, there has been games that have been called off and stuff. Lucky enough, we've only had one, and that was down to floodlight failure, funnily enough. It wasn't even down to the waterlogged pitch. But like I said, we're quite lucky. We've had a lot of home games. I think we've only played away twice this season. That's in the cups and in the league. So we've been really lucky. And I'm very grateful for that, because obviously I prefer to have the points on the board than the games in hand, because then it's, you're out front and other people are chasing. So the pressure's off of us. Yes, we have to keep winning because we want to stay at the top, but we're not chasing other teams, which is nice. But yeah, that is the annoying part, and probably for QPR as well, because it's frustrating on their behalf. Because if you have 1 or 2 weeks without a game, and then all of a sudden you've got a game to play 3 weeks later, it's almost like it's starting to get going again. Do you have to do a little mini pre-season within them 2 weeks to get the players up to scratch? Because it's like in football, the games is what really builds your fitness up. And if you've got 2 or 3 weeks off, then you have to play again, and it takes you a little while to get going again.
Yeah, and as I say, you can simulate it the best you can with firsts and reserves in training, but it isn't quite the same. And as you said, it's good to have those points on the board, because particularly when you have the ambition of a deep cup run in the League Cup and in the FA Cup as well, which we'll come on to. Having the league games in the bank really helps when you've got to add the cup games in further down the season as well.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you. I know the FA Cup generates money for the club. I know the League Cup's good as well. And without disrespecting both trophies, it's the league what we want, because at the end of the day, you can have a good cup run in both. But if we're in this league still next season, then we'll feel like as a group and as a club, we've not progressed. Yeah. So as great as cups are, like I said, it's not disrespectful to the cups at all. FA Cup's fantastic. Since I was a little kid, I've watched it on telly, and even it's in the women's game now, you still get that same feeling like we will do this Sunday against Luton. When you wake up on a Sunday morning, it's FA Cup day. It's just that competition just has a bit of romance, and everyone's got good memories of the FA Cup. We had a great run in it last year, beat Ipswich, which was a fantastic game. Ended up going out to Oxford the season before. The girls, I think, got into the 5th round. I wasn't there then, but they narrowly lost on penalties to Lewis. It was in the Championship at the time, so it does create great memories, them cups. But like I said, our focus is, if we get on a good cup run, brilliant, it's a bonus. But our main focus this year is trying to gain promotion to the 3rd tier.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got the FA Cup this weekend. We had a break from the league with the League Cup last weekend and the FA Cup this weekend as well. Luton Town, then, from the tier below. Now, you're probably going to try and downplay this, so apologies to any of your players who are listening. But with the tier difference, you are the favourites going into that game, and 2 games away from a potential championship side when they come in as well. You've touched on it there, how important the FA Cup is to a club such as Billericay Town, because not just in terms of the occasion, but financially. I mean, when you compare it to the men's game, it doesn't sound a lot, the £850 for winning in the first round, but it can make a difference to clubs.
It makes a massive difference. And I agree with you, compared to the men's game, it's I've got to watch the way I word this. It's laughable. It's probably.
I mean, I looked at. I compared them actually earlier on today. So the teams in the men's game for winning, like the first preliminary round before you even get into the 4 rounds of qualifying, get £1,300, and the women's who are in the first round get £850.
Yeah, so straight away you've got a difference there. Yeah, but that's what it is. We know what it's like, but like I said, it's a chance to generate money and put some money back in the club, because the club do pay out a lot. Luton, I'm sure, will bring challenges. We played Needham Market, who was 2 leagues below us in the FA Cup the previous round. 6-3, they scored 3 times. Yes, we did play. We played a lot of our younger players and the players not have played, but it was still it was still a challenge. You know, there's still a potential banana skin with some of them teams because it's a great day out for them. It's almost like their cup final. All the pressure's on us. It isn't on them. You know, people expect us to win them games. No game you should be expected to win. You know, you have to work hard. Results are earned by working hard, just turning up. And like I said, we'll take the game as serious as any other game that we do, and hopefully we get a result and we progress into the next round.
Yeah, and the FA Cup, as you said, is always an exciting one, and I'm sure Luton will be certainly up for the game. You've got to almost kind of guard your players against complacency and thinking, oh, we're the higher team, we should be going with this. And I think, as you said, having that 6-3 win over Needham Market kind of maybe wakes them up a bit and goes, yeah, these teams can still score several goals against us. We need to be on our game.
Yeah, it's like I said, them games, they're the same sort of games. You have to turn up with the right mentality. You have to start the games well. Because, you know, when you play teams from lower division, if they get an early goal, they're on the front foot, confidence is booming, especially if, you know, the lower teams normally get quite good support at them games. And then once they get the support on their side, you know, they get the bit in their teeth. And it's going to be a tough game. But like I said, it's a game that we feel we can win and should win, to be honest with you. But like I said, you never know in football, especially in the FA Cup, as you see in the women's game and the men's game. You know, there's always an upset in a round.
Yeah, I mean, will being at home and being on the 3G pitch kind of help you? You know, you're not going to have, you know, bobbles that you might get where the grass cuts up, so you're free to play your game.
Yeah, that does make a difference. That's the thing with this league. The 1 week you're on 3G, the next week you're on grass. Sometimes, obviously, grass has got a completely different way of playing to 3G. So, yeah, and the winter months are coming. Pitches get cut up. And then, like you said, they get lumpy and bumpy. So these sort of games, we are happy to play them at home, if I'm honest, on a nice flat surface so we can, you know, it suits our game. But I'm sure Luton are a good footballing side and it'll probably suit their game as well. But like I said, we're looking forward to it, and FA Cup's always a special game.
And just to finish off, thank you for your time this evening, Scott. I ask all my guests this, and I know you touched on it earlier, but what do you think can be done to improve the awareness, the reputation of the women's game? What needs to be done to help move the women's game forward, particularly at the National League level?
I don't know. I bang my head against the wall with it sometimes because I don't understand it. Because if you look at other sports like tennis, I know tennis is an outlet sport, but the women are on even par. Like you'll watch a woman tennis player, and it'll be in a packed arena. You know, other sports, hockey and stuff is sort of on par. I think marketing possibly needs to be better. Financially, maybe it needs to be made better as well. And I would love some of the men to come out and maybe promote it a little bit as well. Maybe be seen at some games, or, you know, just coming out and just pumping it out a little bit, just, you know, to help with advertising and stuff like that. Because it's a real shame, because one thing I have learned is that there's some very good footballers, very, very good footballers, especially in Tier 3 in the National League. You know, I know there's been some good attendances in there this week, but I know players that I work with that have come out of the Championship and now playing in Tier 3. Southampton have got a couple, or more than a couple, that have come out of last season's Championship and they're now playing in Tier 3. So it's going to get stronger. It's going to get better. And like I said, it's just really that marketing, getting it out there and just trying to get people through the doors to watch it, because I think that's the first steps. Once people actually go and watch a game, I think they'll be quite surprised at the level, if I'm honest with you. I think most people will laugh it off. Your average man will probably go, oh, women's football, I don't want to go and watch women's football. But I've had mates that have come over to watch Billericay, and after the game, they're like, wow, like, I was shocked. I did not realise the level was that high. That's because you've never watched it.
Yeah.
You know, now you have. And I just think it's more awareness like that. You know, maybe some of the National League sides, when they're in the FA Cup, maybe try and televise one. I don't know how much cost implications that's got or anything, just so that this level can be shown as well, rather than trying to wait till they get into the higher rounds. Something like that might help. I don't know. It's a difficult one, but something needs to be done, because, like I said, there's a lot of talented footballers out there that play in Tier 3 and 4. And I just think it just needs a little bit of help and guidance.
Well, Scott, thank you very much for joining me tonight and taking the time out. Scott Chickelday, the Division 1 Manager of the Month for October, which is what I was trying to get out there. Thank you very much for your time, Scott.
No worries, Chris. Thank you for having me, mate. I really appreciate it.
A big thank you to Scott for chatting to me yesterday. Hoping to get more guests coming on over the coming weeks when the fixtures, inevitably the weather takes hold of them. But for now, let's look further ahead then before we get into the FA Cup fixtures this weekend. And there's a cheeky league fixture that's snuck in there as well. We'll just have a look at the draw for the Cup and the Plate. This is the second round draw. All ties to be played on December the 5th. So it's been brought forward a little bit from the original kind of planned date, but December the 5th, all these ties are going to be played. We're down to 8 fixtures per competition. In the Cup then, Loughborough Lightning against Huddersfield Town, Norton Stockton Ancients against AFC Fylde, Liverpool Feds take on Wolverhampton Wanderers, Derby County against Brighouse Town, MK Dons against Southampton, that's the Tier 3 Southampton, Chichester and Chelsea against #United, Tier 4 Southampton Women against Crawley Wasps, and Oxford United against Billericay Town. So still some 4th tier sides in the second round of the FA Women's National League Cup. If we look at the Plate now, London Seawood against Exeter City, Queen's Park Rangers against Portsmouth, Portishead Town take on AFC Wimbledon, Biddeford United against Nottingham Forest, Hull Sports against Leafield Athletic, West Bromwich Albion take on Cheltenham Town, Sporting Cowser against Boldmere St Michael's, and Alnwick Town against Leeds United. So more 4th tier sides in the Plate than in the Cup. Also worth noting that at this stage it is still regionalised north and south in the Cup and the Plate. And that will do it for the draw for the second round. As I said, all ties to be played on December the 5th, although I have a feeling that quite a few of those will end up getting postponed because of the weather. So let's look ahead to this weekend. We've got the first round proper of the FA Cup. But before we get there, I'll just quickly do the one game in the Division 1 Midlands with both of these sides out of the FA Cup. Leek Town against Wem Town on Sunday afternoon. Leek Town can climb one place in the table. They can get themselves up into 6th place, I believe. Sorry, 5th place with a victory, with a point, in fact. Wem Town could, in theory, get as high as 7th, but they would need to win by about 12 goals. More realistically, a win will put them kind of 9th or 10th, depending on the margin of the win. So then, back to the fixtures coming up. We'll look at the first round. I know I only went through these a couple of weeks ago after the 4th qualifying round, but we'll go through them again for anybody who was not with us a couple of weeks ago. So what we've got is we've got the fixtures there, and then on either side is the tier that side plays in. So these are in the order that they came out of the hat in the draw for this first round proper. So Farsley Celtic against Mossley Hill, Huddersfield Town take on Sir Tom Finney, Hartlepool United against Leeds United, Cheadle Town Stingers against Bradford City, Barnsley versus Alnwick Town, Blackburn Community Sports Club against Hull City. 3 tiers the difference between those two sides. Wakefield Trinity and AFC Fylde, and Chorley take on Middlesbrough. Onto the second page, Liverpool Feds against Fleetwood Town Wrens, FC United of Manchester against Brighouse Town, South Shields versus Norton and Stockton Ancients, Burnley against Durham Sestra, Newcastle United against Harrogate Town, Northampton Town versus Biddeford United, Long Eaton United against Peterborough United, and Crewe Alexandra take on West Bromwich Albion. Shifnal Town against Lincoln United, Sporting Cowser against Wolverhampton Wanderers, AFC Telford against Leafield Athletic, Solihull Moors against Loughborough Lightning, Shrewsbury Town take on Lye Town, Stoke City will face Doncaster Rovers Bells, Nottingham Forest against Lichfield City, the game I'm going to be at this weekend. Neverton United from the 7th tier, still in the competition against Knoll of the 6th tier. So it will be great that we've got at least a 6th tier side, maybe even lower, in the second round of the competition. Sheffield against Sutton Coldfield Town, Burton Albion against Lincoln City, Derby County take on Stourbridge, MK Dons against Ipswich Town, Chesham United against Cambridge United, Billericay Town versus Luton Town, Hearts Vipers against Stevenage, Wymondham Town against Norwich City. Hashtag United against Southend United Community Sports Club. It's another 7th tier side there. London Seaward take on Cambridge City. Clapton Community from the 7th tier against Bedford of the 5th. Herne Bay against Actonians. Fulham take on Oxford United. Queen's Park Rangers versus Bromley. Worthing against Hounslow. And Portsmouth versus Dorking Wanderers. Crawley Wasps against London Bees, Millwall Lionesses against AFC Wimbledon, Ascot United against Chichester and Chelsea, Staining Town Community against Kent Football United, another 3-tier difference in that one. Abingdon United against Southampton Women, Abingdon Town against Gillingham, Sutton United versus Ashford Town, and Cheltenham against Liskeard Athletic. And then finally, New Milton Town versus Bridgewater United, AFC St Austell against Torquay United, Ilminster Town against Sherborne Town, Bournemouth Sports against AFC Bournemouth, Southampton against Swindon Town, AFC Stoneham versus Eastleigh in the Community, Keynsham Town versus Plymouth Argyle, and Exeter City against Cardiff City. Again, it's worth pointing out the ties regionalised at this stage, but 56 ties, 112 teams taking part in the first round. The second round will be 28 ties of 2 teams, of course. And then the third round will go down to 14 sides. And that's when we get into the nitty gritty with the other teams coming in from the championship as well. So plenty for these teams from the 5th tier and below to be going for as we carry on in the FA Cup first round. We'll be covering the FA Cup on this show as long as there is a side from the FA Women's National League or below remaining in it. And then hopefully by the time that we lose all of the Women's National League sides, we'll be down into the quarterfinals or the round of 16, and that is when the mainstream media will pick up the Women's FA Cup. And my job here to try and promote it as best I can throughout the women's game will be done for yet another year. So that is the FA Cup first round draw, and that will cover it for this week's episode of the Women's National League show. Next week we'll be looking back at all of those results from the FA Cup first round, and we may have the draw for the second round as well. I do believe that's on Monday, but I could be wrong, and feel free to correct me in the comments below if I am. So that will do it for this week's episode of the Women's National League show. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, if you want to get involved, you can leave a comment down below here on YouTube or get in touch with me at Chris_Gadsby. But for now, stay safe and keep supporting your local women's football team. Goodbye.